Hello YouTube. I mentioned this lake briefly in my other videos about Russia's cryptozoology, but it is time to describe what I know in detail. I think that there should be a special expedition to the lake just with the purpose of studying the so-called monster. But who would pay for it? And of course, in today's reality, it cannot be a foreign-generated enterprise. But maybe someday there could be a joint exploration. So let me elucidate the world about this strange creature and add spice to the story by telling a few things about local archaeology. Something is afoot, ladies and gentlemen, and it doesn't hurt for other parts of the globe to learn about one of Eurasia's mysteries. There is a legend according to which a giant creature lives in that lake, devouring cattle and people. The Novosibirsk parapsychologist Andrei Versayan, recalling one of the ancient legends that somewhere in the area of Lake Chany there is an entrance to Shambhala, the land of knowledge, truth and enlightenment. He believes that it is from mystical Shambhala that one of its mysterious inhabitants penetrates into the waters of the lake, performing the role, so to say, of a karmic orderly. According to Versayan, the animal takes the souls of only those living beings, people or animals, that could cause terrible harm to others in the future. But the animal, the cryptid, or the sea devil also attacked a teenager, so I do not buy this interpretation. Residents of the village of Yudino, to whom the researchers turned for clarification, said that there is a certain creature in their lake, which they call the sea devil. From the scattered descriptions, scientists have compiled the approximate portrait of a lake monster, according to which the creature has a massive serpentine torso, reaching up to 10 meters in length, and a large, somewhat elongated head with a large mouth. Old-timers of the village said that the sea devil was first seen in the lake at the end of the 19th century, and since then there is no escape from it. Please remember the following. In 1997, during excavations in the coastal southwestern part of the Lake Chany, of the ancient settlement, dating back to the 6th, early 7th century BC, Russian archaeologists came across a large number of artifacts depicting a giant serpentine lizard. Perhaps even then the ancient people not only knew about the existence of this mysterious creature in the lake, but also worshipped it as a powerful being located in these places. What I could not locate is the actual image of those artifacts, what was discovered, and I tried to find them. We'll speak about archaeology later. Is this creature related to dinosaurs? Well, for hundreds of millions of years, at least since the Cambrian period, Western Siberia, including the entire territory of the Novosibirsk region, was the bottom of an ancient warm sea, the Paleoasiatic Ocean. The nearest land was located approximately in the area of present-day Krasnoyarsk and the Angara River basin, the ancient Siberian continent of Angarida. Stretched there for many millions of years, the sea periodically retreated, then again advanced on the territory of Western Siberia, and each time it left strata of sedimentary deposits in which images of ancient marine animals, fossils, were forever imprinted. In the Jurassic and Cretaceous period, 100 to 200 million years ago, a variety of ancient reptiles lived in the sea and on land, all over the planet, the most impressive of which are known to us as dinosaurs. However, to the chagrin of fans of the Jurassic period, dinosaur bones are not found on the territory of the Novosibirsk region. At the same time, in the neighboring Kemerovo region, the remains of ancient reptiles sometimes become trophies of paleontologists. Why is this happening? The reason is still the same: huge deflection of the Earth crust, one edge of which rests on the Ural Mountains and the other on the left bank of the Ob River. In the left bank part of the Novosibirsk region, the layers corresponding to the Jurassic and Cretaceous period, when in fact the dinosaurs flourished, are immured in the very core of the Earth trough at a depth of 1 to 2 kilometers and do not come to the surface anywhere. As for the right bank, there are practically no Mesozoic layers there at all. Millions of years ago, they were lifted up as a result of mountain formation and then destroyed by weathering. Therefore, bone remains of dinosaurs are not found in that area of Novosibirsk region and are unlikely to ever be found. Traces of fossil life have always attracted people's attention. They're mysterious, they set up a philosophical mood, allow us to look into the distant past of our planet, to realize the fragility and impermanence of the world in which we live. What was not on the territory of the Novosibirsk region in the past geological periods, and the sea and the subtropical forest and cold tundra, well, so many things have passed through that territory, and no one knows what will happen in the future. It is possible that in thousands of years from now, the Siberian nature will be transformed beyond recognition. Mountains will rise in place of the lowlands. The climate will change, and instead of birch trees, the descendants of modern Russians will see palm trees, or maybe on the contrary, a new ice age will come. Who knows? Human life, even the history of all mankind, is only a second in the ocean of time. We live between two eternities, between what has been and what will be. But as long as we exist here, we're looking for knowledge and answers. So let's take a look at other reports about this mysterious creature of the Siberian lake. You understand that there were some, I don't want to call them expeditions, but people have been trying to find out what has been going on. But it's sporadic, very sporadic, and scientific reports, they see things, and that's how we find out about events there. But it's not a directed mission. Anyway, for many years, only local residents and visiting fishermen knew about the frightening event taking place on the Lake Chany in the Novosibirsk region. And, people were happy to listen to the legends about the monster allegedly living in the reservoir. I don't know if happy is the right word, but eagerly listened. That would be better, maybe. Chany is a drainless lake, salt lake in Russia, located in the Barabinsk lowland in the Novosibirsk region, the largest lake in western Siberia. The lake is located on the territory of 5 districts of the Novosibirsk region: Zdvinsky, Barabinsky, Chanovsky, Kupinsky, and Chistoozerny. Lake Chany is located at an altitude of 106 meters above sea level. The lake, it is 91 kilometers long, 88 kilometers wide. The area of the lake is unstable and currently, according to various estimates, ranges from 1,400 to 2,000 square kilometers. The average depth is about 2 meters, so it's not really deep. The basin of the lake is flat. The lake is shallow. Depths up to 2 meters make up 60% of the total area of the lake. The shores of the lake are quite low and heavily indented, overgrown with reeds, sedge and shrubs. The bottom soil is sandy and silty. The maximum recorded water temperature in the summers 28.3 Celsius. So the creature doesn't have too many deep waters to exist in, but I'm not sure if we know everything about this lake and what's down below. About 70 islands on the lake are natural monuments of the region, as they have preserved unique landscapes that are the habitat of rare species of plants and animals. The appearance of the lake is attributed to the end of the Ice Age, about 10 to 13,000 years ago. And I always underscore that interesting events took place 12,000 years ago. And you can look at my videos, including the one about the Shigir idol and other events. Anyway, initially the lake was located in a steppe, like prairie area. The first shrubby birches on the shore of the lake appeared only about 5.5 thousand years ago. The first mention of the lake in Russian sources dates back to the 16th, 17th centuries. That's to the time of the beginning of what they call the development of Siberia. The study of the reservoir began in the 18th century with the settlement of the Barabinsk lowland. The first mention of the lake in Russian sources, again, dates back to the 16th, 17th century. And the study of the reservoir had to have started in the 18th century, according to various sources. The first mention of Lake Chany, or Chan in Turkic language, means a large vessel, and we use this word in Russian too, and a few other languages as well. It dates back to the beginning of the 17th century, when the detachment of the Ataman, or military chieftain, Semyon Kulagin, entered the vast territory now called the Barabinsk lowland. According to the surviving descriptions, in those distant years, the water of the lake was 6 times larger than the modern one, and according to the chronicles, it resembled rather a sea filled with salt water. It was that big. This protected place impressed Russian pioneers with the abundance of various fish and game that lived in its vicinity. The newcomers were also surprised by the fact that there was no human habitation on the picturesque shores of the lake, and even some distance from it. In 1702, the first fishing settlement appeared on the island there, which after 5 years was deserted. For some unknown reason, the inhabitants just up and left the village. After almost 4 decades, a new settlement appeared on the peninsula there. However, this time the fishermen left they left the habitable place, just took off. Well, about the reasons for their departure, in 1787, geographer Pallas, who made a trip to Chany a year before, wrote that the villagers were frightened by a huge snake that seemed to be found in the waters of the lake, ripping gear, breaking boats, and even attacking people. With the advent of the 19th century, marked by the expansion of the Tomsk province, the lake area began to be actively populated, and the coastal steppe territory was developed by agricultural communities there. The first description of the lake was given by the geographer Pallas, who made the trip to Chany in 1786. A more complete description of the lake was given in 1803 by surveyor Filimonov. In 1895, hydrological work was started on the lake under the supervision of engineer Zhilinsky. In 1911, an ichthyologist, Korikov, was sent to study the lake, who, according to the results of the research, would later write the work titled Lake Fishing in the Barabinsky district. In it, the scientist mentioned for the first time about a strange find in the shallow water near the Zelenchak Peninsula. In particular, Skorikov found a fragment of a fox carcass with lacerations left by large teeth of an unknown creature. This gave the scientist a reason to assume that such large breeds of predatory fish as lufar, katran, chinook, and even star moray eel may be found in the lake. However, local fishermen, according to the ichthyologist's memoirs, claim that nothing like this had ever come across in their nets. In the middle of the 20th century, work was started to prevent the drying of the lake. For the first time, scientists were truly stumped when a group of researchers from the Leningrad University arrived in Barabinsky district in 1932 to study the flora of the lake. From the surviving diary entries of the expedition, it is known that on a clear, windless day, on August 24, a member of the expedition, Arseny Belich, noticed a large snag on the surface of the reservoir, 100 meters from the shore. At first, Belich did not pay attention to it. However, soon the scientist heard a splash of water, and when he turned towards the lake, he observed how a massive snag suddenly came to life, arched, and then began to sink to the depth down below, forming a bubbling funnel around itself. While the Leningrad scientists had a chance to observe a similar mysterious phenomenon already at the end of October, shortly before the first frosts came, near the island of Chany. Only this time, the mysterious creature, whose back was visible only, similar to the trunk of a sawed-off pine tree, for several minutes slowly sailed at a great distance along the coastline. Residents of the village of Yudino, to whom visiting researchers turned for clarification, they said that there is a certain creature in their lake, which they call the sea devil. From these scattered descriptions, scientists again have compiled an approximate portrait of a lake monster. Again, according to this, the creature has a massive serpentine torso reaching up to 10 meters and in length, and a large, somewhat elongated head with a large mouth. Maybe it reminds you of some other strange creature in other lakes of the world. I've heard interesting things when I was in southern Africa decades ago about those parts, Southwest Africa mainly, and other parts of Africa, but that was a long time ago. Anyway, the old-timers of the village told that the sea devil was first seen in the lake at the end of the 19th century, and that there is no escape from it. According to them, the bloodthirsty inhabitant of the lake sometimes attacks cows and horses, whose bitten skeletons are carried out by the tide from time to time on the gentle shore of the lake. Sometimes people become its victims, too. So in the period from 1930 to 1932, more than a dozen fishermen died on the lake, whose bodies could not be found. Perished may be the right word. Having compiled a detailed report on the mysterious inhabitants of the lake, the scientists left. What became of the information that they collected is unknown. Perhaps further research of this phenomenon was prevented by the political repressions that began soon in the Soviet Union during the reign of Stalin, and then the World War II began. So the sea devil was forgotten for 4 decades. Let me tell you something about the lake also. At the end of the 18th century, the largest area of the lake in the entire history of observations was recorded. It was 12,000 square kilometers. Imagine this. At the beginning of the 19th century, the area of the lake was already 8,000 square kilometers. Well, in the 1840s, the lake was divided into separate reservoirs and reaches. Since then, the area of the lake has been rapidly decreasing, and at the end of the 19th century, it was only like 3,170 kilometers. And in the 1960s, the area of the lake was already reduced to 2,000 kilometers. The mysterious inhabitant of the lake reminded about itself again after an earthen dam was built near the western Yudinsky Ples in 1972. They did it in order to prevent shallowing of the lake. As a result, the water level in Chany increased significantly, and hydrologists in some places of the lake began to note a 7-meter depth. So that's how deep it really was in several areas. It was on one of these deep water sites in January 1973 that a tragedy occurred when one of the winter fishing enthusiasts strangely fell through the ice. Eyewitnesses said that at first a thick crust of the ice cover of the lake swelled up under the man, and then as if some force pulled him down, after which the figure of the hapless fisherman rapidly disappeared into the icy water. Another case occurred in the fall of 1989 when fishermen caught a chewed or eaten or gnawed human skeleton without limbs and head off. It was by the Cheremukhovy Island. Police officers and prosecutors investigating this fact found that the remains belonged to a Novosibirsk tourist who disappeared in early summer of the same year. According to the conclusions of the forensic medical examination, the deceased was attacked by a large animal of an unidentified species. Nowadays, according to the testimony of residents of villages located nearby, the lake monster has become active again. So from the story of a resident of the village of Kvashnino by the last name of Doronina, it follows that 2-3 people die every year due to the fault of this unknown creature in the area. In 2009, the monster killed her 13-year-old grandson, capsizing the boat and dragging the boy into the waters. There is evidence in various sources. For example, Vladimir Galashov told how his friend died before his eyes. They were fishing from a boat 300 meters from the shore. He got something very huge on the baiting. It looks like he caught something. So I was in shock. I've never seen anything like it. It capsized us together with the boat. So we swam to the shore. The water was very cold. I was afraid I wouldn't swim. 4 tourists from Belova were also killed. Even the motorboat did not save them. There was a strong blow again, and the boat capsized, drowning along with everyone who was on it. In total, from 2007 to 2010, according to media reports, 19 people died on the Lake Chany. Journalists refer to the official data of the Novosibirsk GIMS Center. What it means is the Federal State Institution Center for State Inspection of Small Vessels of the Ministry of Emergency Situations of Russian Federation in the Novosibirsk region. Representatives of the official authorities assure that it's not a mythical monster that is to blame for the tragedies that have received such a wise resonance, so to say, but commonplace human carelessness and love for drinking alcohol underwater. In addition, the depth of the lake is not able to hide such a large, as follows from the reports, animal if one actually exists. Well, I think even 7.5 meters, who knows how much deeper it may be there, who knows. However, researchers of paranormal phenomena, some, hold a completely different point of view. So, those researchers say that the Lake Chany monster does not have to be plesiosaur at all. One of the biologists expressed an interesting hypothesis that most likely the Asian salamander is that monster. There are 2 types of those salamanders, the Chinese and the Japanese. At their countries, their sizes are not frightening. The Japanese giant salamander has a length of up to 150 centimeters and a mass up to 35 kilograms. The Chinese giant salamander reaches 180 centimeters and 70 kilograms. It differs from the Japanese one only by the location of the bumps on its head. And they live for more than half a century. Well, is a salamander capable of being this Siberian lake monster? Is it capable of living in the Siberian lakes? The researchers believe that it is quite possible, since the eggs of the giant salamander could be brought into Chany by migratory birds, and the salamander is able to reach a huge size due to mutations that can be caused by processes in the fault at the bottom of the lake, or changes in the aquatic environment due to excessive use of mineral fertilizers for many years. I mean, Russia, the Soviet Union has contaminated a lot of its territory by secret experiments and junk that they put into the soil, so this may not be surprising. Fertilizers is one thing, but secret experiments is something else. Anyway, substances that can cause a sharp growth of the body have accumulated in large quantities in Chany. So far, the choice is between a plesiosaur and a giant mutant salamander, but in any case, the Chany monster has already been included into the rating of Russian monsters. By the way, Malaya, or Small Chany, is a brackish lake on the territory of Kupinsky and Zvinsky district of the Novosibirsk region, and the area is only 200 square kilometers. The average depth is only 1.4 meters. The lake is located at the altitude of 106 meters above the sea level. Now, this lake is connected by a channel to the larger and the saltier Lake Chany, and the Chulim River flows right into the Malay Chany, so it's something to know too. Now, archaeology. There is something odd about archaeological discoveries in the area. For example, in 2019, employees of the Institute of Archaeology and Ethnography of the Siberian branch of the Russian Academy of Sciences were excavating in the Vengerovsky district of the Novosibirsk region at the Ust-Tartas 1 monument. The monument belongs to the Barabinsk Neolithic culture of the 7th to 6th millennium BC. Okay? Academician Molodin, head of the Paleometallic Archaeology department of that institute, I will not go through its name again, believes that ancient people used this territory for religious activities. One of the latest findings has surprised scientists. Archaeologists have discovered a bird figurine carved from the bone of a large hoofed animal and a sculpture of an elk's head. According to Vyacheslav Molodin, archaeologists have not yet found analogues to these objects. Similar finds have been made in Northern Europe. The objects found there were interpreted as the pommel of wands. Now, Siberian archaeologists are trying to comprehend the purpose of the objects found. This could be an image of the flying dinosaurs, pterodactyls. I think we have to keep an eye on it. There was another discovery in 2018, very interesting. I think in the same area, they found something made out of the beaks of birds, very unusual. And I'm trying to find out more information about it. But as you can imagine, nowadays it's not that easy. But you need to know that excavations of ancient mounds in western Siberia, including on the territory of the modern Novosibirsk region, began long ago. Since the development, as they call it, of Siberia by Russian explorers. You could also call them conquistadors. See, then came followed by the grave robbers, who robbed a huge number of ancient Siberian mounds back in the 18th century. The gold items obtained in this way were almost often melted down. As a result, a huge number of priceless items, artifacts, were irretrievably lost. Of course, some so-called rich complexes were not robbed by those grave robbers, and today archaeologists may still be lucky enough to find undisturbed burials, which sometimes happens in the archaeological practice of Siberia. So what artifacts have been stolen and what images they might have contained? By the middle of the 18th century, the era of the grave robbers was over. All the large mounds were checked, so to say, and the jewels ran out. Of course, the robberies of the mounds continued later. You should know what happened after the fall of the Soviet Union. But they never produced such an abundance of precious metal, that gold. The first scientific descriptions and information about archaeological sites in that Novosibirsk were first obtained during the academic expeditions of the first half of the 18th century, and I described some. I don't want to go through the whole history, but I do want to let you know that from 1959 to mid-1990s, several hundred archaeological sites were discovered and investigated by the Novosibirsk archaeological expedition detachments in almost all districts of the Novosibirsk region. So in the 1990s of the 1990s, last century, there was a significant reduction in archaeological research in the region. There was no funds. They say it's largely due to the completion of the activities of the Novosibirsk archaeological expedition in 1995. I don't think they had any more funds. But during that period, archaeologists, detachments of the Institute, were working in the region, Institute of Archaeology and Ethnography. They conducted research of archaeological sites in the Vengersky imported Vengerovsky, Kishtovsky, Isketim, Guchinsky districts. This is for those, I'm reciting this for those who may be interested to pursue it, and if possible, maybe someday visit the area too. It's very interesting. Who knows what will be in the future, but I don't think this phenomena has to be lost. Now, the works, there's still two archaeological detachments from the pedagogical university. It still continues in the area, and there are a number of monuments, and they're carried out with the help of young people's archaeological clubs of Novosibirsk. Well, at least somebody is looking. The result of archaeological research on the territory of the Novosibirsk region is 1,702 identified and placed on state protection archaeological monuments. So they did discover a lot. As a percentage, the territory of the Novosibirsk region archaeologically has been studied by no more than 20%, while a huge area of the region still continues to remain uncovered by archaeological research. So there still could be interesting discoveries that might prove that ancient Siberians knew about the lake monster and other phenomena in the area. And I'm speaking from my experience as the researcher of paranormal Eurasia, Russia in particular as well. And I have to tell you that I've collected quite a lot about Siberia and hope to get more information. And please look at my videos pertaining to ancient Siberia and just mysteries of that land. But so that you know what I'm speaking about geographically, Novosibirsk Oblast or region is a federal subject of Russia, an oblast, located in southwestern Siberia. Its administrative and economic center is the city of Novosibirsk, the city of great scientists, by the way. The Novosibirsk region is the key region of Siberia. Its population is a little less than 3 million people, and another 13 million people live within a radius of 700 kilometers. This is almost half the population of Siberia and the Far East. And to end, during the Middle Ages, The region was populated by Siberian Tatar tribes, Baraba and Chany. Of course, we don't have, I would say, any records left from their times that would help us find out more about the creature, only legends, and we'll continue research. So this is what I wanted to tell you about this mysterious cryptid in Lake Chany. If you like my research, you can help it. You will find the links in the description to this video. Please like my video, please subscribe to the channel, tell others, and stay tuned for more interesting subjects from Eurasia and other parts of the world that I will cover. Thank you.